All right. So this is last week of Python 101. This is the final recording. This is the functionality for the bubble sort, reverse bubble sort, which are basically the same thing really. We'll get into that in a minute. And then a not really sort, but like a middle. I guess you could call it a sort. Things don't go in order, but we're taking things and moving them into a different order. So the middle, yeah, middle sort operation. We'll just say that to be simple. Um, which again, I will explain in a minute once we get there. And I do have a visualization that's gonna actually make all this, a lot easier to understand, which is kind of the part of this that I'm the most proud of, to be honest, because the sorting was fairly straightforward. Um, Anywho, all right. So we have our like usual, same structure as usual. We got our driver and then our modules folder with the modules that we're going to use. We only need two modules for this. The list utils, which is where the actual logic takes place. So this has make, which will make a list of size n containing random integers from 1 to 100,000. Um, Very, very straightforward. That's all make does. We're just going to need that so that we can, have something to sort. Um, so yeah, that's going to be that's what make is. Pretty straightforward. Then we have write, which writes any given list to a given file name. Again, extremely straightforward, very trivial. Open the file, write every line with a new line. Um, Then we have sort. So this is where the meat of it goes on. So we take IL, which is our input list, and we're going to take our second parameter, which is reverse, and we're just going to set it to false by default. If they don't pass it, just assume that they don't want it in reverse. Um, and yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to make a return list, which is going to be a copy of our input list. We're going to set n equal to the length of that list. And then we are going to loop through. So we're going to go through all the way up to n minus 1 because we don't want to go out of range. And then we're going to have a Boolean called swapped, which is going to be false by, it's going to get set to swapped. Sorry, it's going to get set to false every time through the loop. Excuse me, I got caught up in my words there. And then within that loop, we have an inner loop. So we are, we're going by I, and then we're going to step within I by J. And now we're going to go minus I minus 1, because we're basically going through the list and taking each number and then the number to its right, and then we're going to compare them, and then we're going to swap them based on that comparison. So that's what we're doing here. So we're going to yield the current state. That's going to be just for the visualizer. That's not necessary for the logic itself. This is just for the visualizer. Anything that says yield, we're just going to ignore for now. So now we're going to check, if not reverse is reversed. So this is just, very simple. The only difference between these is this operator right here, this comparison operator, because we want to check if the one on the left, which is, the return list at the index of j, is greater than the one to its right, j plus 1. And if that's true, we're going to swap them, set swap to true, yield, and then go back to the beginning, set swap to false, loop on through, can carry on, right? And then reverse obviously is just the opposite. If it's less, then we're going to do the swap because we want to move things the other way. We want to bubble things in the other direction. And that's all you have to do to make it reversed. No fancy business required. And then if not swapped, break. So we, if no swaps occurred, if the list is sorted, we're good. And this isn't just an early exit. That's kind of a misnomer there. It's like an early exit slash just like that is the last condition. Like once everything's sorted, it'll go, oh, not swapped. All right, break. Then we yield the final sorted state, and we yield each element to highlight the list, which is again, that's part of the visualization later. So yeah, that's both our bubble sort and our reverse bubble sort all in one function. Then we have middle sort. So we take an already sorted list, and I mean technically it doesn't need to be sorted already. This will work for any list, but in order to get the visual effect that you want, it's going to be an already sorted list. And then basically we handle our empty list just in case, and then we make an empty return list. We find the middle point by doing a floor division with the length of the list. N is always equal to the length of the list in these functions. So yeah, we floor divide that by 2, find the middle point. And then you start with the middle element, you add that element, and then we oh right, yeah, so this is for visualization. Sorry, I forgot because I shorten all my variables, and then I just have like an index up here. Which so sorry, I forgot what that was for, but that is just, again, that's for the yield function, so that is for the display. Because yeah, that's the temp display, so that this works with because it took a little doing to get this to work with my visualization thing here. Anywho, moving on. All right, stop. Yeah, silence my. Whatever. I don't know how to silence that. Sorry. Forgive me on that. That's my phone connected to my computer. Anywho, so yeah, we go left is, starts 1 to the left of the midpoint, right starts 1 to the right of the midpoint, and then the results, yeah, we start at 1 because that's the original index, and then we go between the left and the right elements. So while either of these statements are true, because if we have an odd, an even amount of numbers and there's not a true middle point, one of these could go before the other. And then we go through, we add an element from the left side, we add an element from the right side, we yield those values for visualization, and then we yield the final state. And this is a function that is going to be used for writing the lists, because basically these functions, they don't have any returns. They have yield states, right? So it's not as simple as just writing those values to a file, because then, and I ran into this problem, is what happens is you have it will print a list of lists, which is basically every state that the sorted, every state that the sort yields, which is not what you want. You just want that final list of values which is sorted. So what you got to do is you first just, like, I use the term finalize. You just pass it basically, and get all of its values, and then throw that list into a write function, if that makes sense. So yeah, and then basically the rest is just functionality for the graphing. Yeah, so I have a function for playing tone, which is basically it's normalized to the max value, which is 100,000. So, like, basically the tone will be mapped to the value that's being sorted. But if I just did that straight, it would just, like, a lot of the tones wouldn't even be audible, for either being too low or too high. So we normalize to that basically. Same thing for playing. This is a play chord, which is just for a little. You'll see in a second. There's like a little flourish at the end, and it plays a little doot at the end, which is what that's for. Color gradient, also for a little flourish at the end. And draw sort. This is the main meat of the function. It uses this play tone function, and basically loops through, and it uses yielded values from those from those sort list functions that we have in list utils, and draws lines in a Pygame window, again normalized to height, which is based on the size of the window, which we said is 1200 by 700. Sorry, I almost said 800 by 600. That would be too small. I don't know why, but that's like a common resolution in my mind because of old video games. But I digress. Anywho, where was I? Yes, we are. Got sidetracked. Oh my goodness. Yes, so we're drawing a bar for each thing, and we are playing a tone for each thing. Now, that will pose a problem in a moment, as we'll see. Um, if I have it playing tones unblocked for 5,000, it's going to go extremely slow. So I'm going to change some, I'm going to fiddle with some variables and stuff around here, and I'm going to show you how it works with some small sets, and then I'm going to like increase the values, and we'll go from there. So, yeah, but that's pretty much all there is to it. Yeah, everything is just contained within these two modules here, and we just run it through main, and let's see here. So I have it set to a size of 8, and then in my graph utils I have the clock tick set to 5. So we're gonna get we should be getting 5 frames per second ideally here, or close to that. I don't know, might have some math wrong or something. It should be slow enough to watch is the point. So let's see. Yep, perfect. All right. So when it runs in, so you can see that red is the two that it's comparing. And then as soon as it sees, let's run that one more time because it was done by the time I was explaining. But the red are the two and let's do a little bit of a bigger set actually. I did 8 just to be safe because I didn't want it to take like forever, but that actually was too short. So let's make our size, let's do 6, let's double it. So yeah, so the red are the ones that are getting compared. If they get flipped, they flash green. And you can see that high value bubbles to the top. That's why it's bubble sort, right? So bing, 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 bing. This one's going to bubble. It stops. That one's going up. That one's going up. And it stops. And that one goes and stops. And you can see that obviously our endpoint is getting closer and closer to the beginning here. And here we go. Getting to the end game. Makes one more pass through all of them. Excellent. Beautiful. That makes me very happy that works. All right. Anywho, now let's try it with a actual. Well, actually, before we do it with a big number, let's watch our reverse sort, and then let's watch our middle sort. So let's comment out our regular sort, and let's do. Oops, forgot to refactor that a bit ago when I. Sorry, I had this formatted a little wacky. My bad. Just realized because I was reformatting last second there, and a little bit of clumsiness here, so forgive me. I'm just doing some duct taping here. Don't mind if I do. Yada yada. Okay, bingo. Is it name of the import target? What? Wait, why is this? Hold on. Oh my goodness. Oh, is that all? Okay, I don't know what happened there. My bad. Anywho, Python's a little finicky, more finicky than spaces matter here. I forget that sometimes. Anywho, reverse sort. So exactly the same thing, except they bubble to the left, right? Or you could say maybe. Well, no, the small values don't bubble down. That's not how it works. It's just they bubble in the other direction. So yeah. Boop, 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 boop. you go. Boom. And finally, let's do the middle sort. Whoop. What? Oh, goodness. Swear this was working. It was working before, I swear. Oh, oh, oh. Okay. So this takes a sorted list and it does the middle sort operation. So yeah, you get this like kind of even odd, it gets like staggered where one set is ascending and then the other is descending. So yeah, pretty neat. Like every other basically is like, you can see one's going up, one's going down. So yeah, that's that. Now, let's get to the main show here. Forgive my technical difficulties there. I reformatted this to make it look all pretty, and I had some hiccups there. But, terror is human. Here we go. Let's get back to our regular sort. Let's make our size 5,000, which is what's required for the project, right? And then there's just a few more tweaks that I gotta make to make sure that this is not agonizingly painful. The first is gonna be in graph utils, we're gonna change our tick to a lot higher, 120 at least. And we're gonna change we want our sound blocking off. Or actually, this is for the final sweep, so that one's fine. But yeah, this false, because basically what that does is it stops Pygame for like until the sound is finished playing, which is good when you're doing a low amount of values and you want every sound to actually play. But when we're trying to do a large amount of values, we don't really need the individual sounds. And I was not able to figure out how to get it to work with 5,000 values. And frankly, that's okay, because as I said in my wiki entry, I dipped my toes into a deep pool. And, the more you know, the more you know you don't know, as they say. Anywho, let's see this thing go. So yeah, that's a lot of values. I'm surprised that it's playing tones right now. Usually it doesn't do that for this many values. Hold on. Forgive me, it's been a few days since I've written this, so I have to remind myself. Oh, I'm a goof. Changed it wrong. Oops. I was in the wrong function when I changed the blocking there, so. Force quit that. All right, try this again. All right, now it's actually, moving through there pretty quick, and you could probably hear little chirps and beeps there every once in a while. And I don't have to let this thing play through the whole thing, because, it's quite, or at least I'm not going to commentate through the whole thing because it's quite long. I'll let my computer sit here, and if you want to sit here and watch as these values get sorted, it's probably pretty satisfying as it goes along. But yeah, that is my final project for CompSci. I'm really glad with what I got here. Although it's not perfect, you know what I mean. I was glad that I just got to scrape it together because I've seen things like this in videos and stuff, and you know what's the point of learning how to program if you can't do something cool that you saw, uh, and implement an idea? That's like kind of the whole idea, right? Um, or at least that's what gets me really excited about it. Making things happen, and also just like visuals, make the math a lot more meaningful, and like it just gives you, an actual dimension to it. So yeah, I'm just gonna stop yapping and let this run. Really appreciate um, this whole course. It's given me a lot. I've taken a lot from it, and it's been really good to get back into programming again. So yeah, I'm just gonna let this sit.